Welcome. This is an Innovations Technology Solutions video, and it goes along with the Shared Library Issues in Linux blog post. Now, what I'm going to do in this video is take you through the how-to section, and the main commands that we're going to be concerned with today are ld-linux.so, which is the Linux loader, the ldd command, which is a command that shows you which libraries a binary depends on, and it will also show you any libraries that are missing that binary depends on, and the ldconfig command, which rebuilds the cache of currently installed libraries on your system. Now, the first thing to notice is that my current working directory is the pgadmin3/bin directory under a PostgreSQL installation. What I did was I downloaded and installed Postgres via a bin installer to set up specifically for this post. Typically what you would want to do is use a repository if your system supports them. In this case I'm running on CentOS, so I typically would use the repository mechanism. What that does is that allows you to keep your system up to date more easily and thus more secure and more stable. Now in this bin directory there are several binaries. The main one that we're concerned with is PSQL. Okay, so if I try and run the PSQL command, I get an error telling me that a library is missing and that its name is libpq.so.5. I want to dig a little bit deeper in that, and I type ldd psql. Normally with ldd you want to give the full path to the binary that you're checking. In this case I'm already in the directory that the binary is in, so I just use the current directory path. And when I hit enter, you'll see that PSQL depends on quite a few libraries. And as I start looking down through here, I start seeing these not found entries. And the first one is libpq.so.5, which was the library that was mentioned in the error up here. Now notice that the error only mentions the first library that's missing. There are others down through here in the LDD output that are missing as well. So now that I know which libraries are missing, I'm going to pick the name of one and I'm going to look for that on my system to see if it's installed. If the library is not installed, then I need to go to the internet or to my package management system to figure out which packages I need to install to get the library or libraries that are missing. Before I go around looking for packages though, I'm going to do a sudo find. I'm going to start at the root directory, and I'm going to check for libpq.so.5. And you can see that there are two places that libpq.so.5 library was found, and they're both under the Postgres installation. One is lib and one is pgadmin3lib. Now if you take a look inside of this the lib directory, you can see that all of the other libraries that were missing are in there as well. So if I add this library path, get this set up so that Linux can find libraries in this path, it should fix our problem with running PSQL. Now that I've found that, I can do a quick fix using the ld library path environment variable. This should only be used as a temporary fix though. It should not be used permanently and should not be set by default on your Linux distribution. It's just if you want to test maybe some new features of PSQL or something like that. And I'll talk about how to make a permanent change here in just a little bit. So I can type export ld_library_path equals opt PostgreSQL 8.4 lib. Actually, there. And I'll hit enter. And now when I run PSQL It prompts me for the password, which is my Postgres password, and I'm greeted by the Postgres prompt. I'm going to exit back out here. Before we move on, I want to unset the LD library path environment variable, because that will cause us problems later on when we go to do our other methods. If you leave that set, you can't be sure whether it's your configuration file changes or whether it's your LD library path environment variable setting that's making PSQL work correctly. And to test that, I'm going to try and run PSQL, and you see we're back to having the library error again, which is what we want before we go on with the next steps. Now, for the permanent solution, there are a couple different ways you can go about adding this library in a way that ldconfig can find it. The first would be to add this library path on its own line in the etc ld.so.conf file, and when ldconfig goes through and rebuilds cache of currently installed libraries, it'll look at that configuration file, it'll find that path, and it'll read the libraries in that path. Another way is that if you put an include directive inside your ld.so.conf file, you can actually tell ldconfig to look at the ld.so.conf.d directory, and inside that directory you can put individual configuration files holding this path or multiple paths, which makes it very easy to add third-party libraries. So the first thing I want to do is I want to jump into a root environment here. You can see the pound sign or the hash here telling us that we're there, and I want to dump that library path using echo, the opt PostgreSQL 8.4 lib path. I want to dump that into etc ld.so.conf.d, so I'm putting it in the directory, and I'm dumping it into a file called Postgres i386.conf. Now, the name of this file doesn't really matter. It could be any name that you want it to be. I just followed a naming convention for a MySQL configuration file that was already in there. Another thing is you want to be careful with this redirection operator here, because this operator will overwrite a file if it already exists. So if there's a Postgres i386 file in there that already exists, all of the information that was in it will be wiped out, and it will just contain this library path here. That's also something to note if you're wanting to add the library path onto as the very last line onto the ld.so.conf file. This redirection operator is not the way to do that. You'd want to use two of these symbols together to append it, because again, this will overwrite whatever's already in the ld.so.conf file. So if I hit enter, there we don't get any errors or anything, but I want to make sure that that library path is in the file, and I want to make sure that it's correct and everything. So here it is, the library path, and everything looks alright. So the very last thing that I need to do is run ldconfig, and once that's run, I can hop out of the root environment here and try and run PSQL again, and I'm prompted for the Postgres password, and I'm back at the Postgres prompt. So we've successfully fixed our problem with the Postgres library configuration file. This has been an Innovations Technology Solutions video, and again, it goes along with the post Shared Library Issues in Linux. If you have any questions or comments or suggestions, we'd be happy to hear from you. You can just leave some information for us in the comments section or send us an email. We'd be happy to hear from you. Thanks for watching.